It's our turn, episode number 98, Board Game Challenges in 2019. In this episode, Sarah, Reed, and I talk about the games we've played recently, including Here Kitty Kitty, Okie Dokie, Pull, a trap shooting game, and Robo Rally. And then we talk about the 2019 board game challenges we're undertaking.
This is the Dice Tower Network, adding games to your wish list since 2005.
Hosting for this episode is generously provided by our fantastic supporters on Patreon.com. If you'd like to help us out by pledging $1 per month or more, please visit patreon.com/OurTurnPodcast. Every dollar helps us to keep this show going strong. Hi, and welcome back to Our Turn. I'm Cathy Ford.
And I'm Sarah Reed.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
So, Happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy New Year.
All right. So today, Sarah and I are here and excited to talk to each other about our board game challenges for 2019.
Mm-hmm. Got a lot planned.
Yeah. And, Sarah being the inventor of one of the big board game challenges, I definitely wanted to talk to you about this topic. So yeah. I'm excited that we were able to pull it off and get together. But we're going to start like we usually do, talking about what games we've played lately. So, Sarah, what have you gotten to the table lately?
Well, since I've been playing a lot of games with my coworkers, and I'm constantly on the lookout for games that can handle higher player counts, one of my coworkers, she got really excited, and she's like, "Oh, I want to help." And I'm like, okay, I do want your help, but you got to realize that I put a lot of effort and energy into researching and making sure not to buy, the wrong game. And she's like, "Well, I'll do all that." And I'm like, "Okay." So she went out and she bought Here Kitty Kitty. Now, I will say up front, it's not a terrible game. I am just unsure how they're going to react to it. So I probably should have waited to talk about this until after I played it with them. But maybe next time I'm on, I'll do a recap. But Will and I sat down to learn how to play because that's the challenge is I have to know how to play the game before I can teach it to them.
Sure.
So Here Kitty Kitty, at least thematically, my coworkers are going to love. Several of them have cats, love cats, one even foster kittens. So the theme of it will definitely grab them. What I'm a little worried is it has a lot of and random. I wouldn't say there's no strategy to the game. I would say there's very little strategy. It's more about tactical because you got this giant deck of cards that do a lot of crazy things. And you've got a board in front of you that it's broken up into 3 sections. Your house, your porch, and your yard. And then in the middle of the table are 4 different colors of cats. They're actually little plastic miniatures in 4 different colors, which is insanely cute. Very cute. So you are trying to attract as many cats to your house, and I do mean trying to get it to your house, as possible to earn the most points and be the craziest cat collector at the end of the game.
I've had neighbors like that.
Yeah. There's this thick stack of cards that are action cards that just throw monkey wrenches everywhere. So on your turn, you have 2 actions. You can play a card, and you can play 2 cards if you want. So every action can be doubled up. You can also move a cat 1 space. So you can move a cat from the neighborhood, which is the center of the table. You move a cat from the neighborhood to your yard. You can move one from your yard to your porch and from your porch to your house. Oh, and you can move them back, and I'll explain why you might actually want to move a cat from your house to your yard. Basically, it's scoring. There's a very rare scoring. You can get 10 points if you only have 1 color of cat in your house at the end of the game, which is very hard to do. Oh, the other action you can do is you can actually choose to discard cards, which seems kind of odd, but they're early on in the game. You can get some later end game cards that really won't help you. So one action can be used to discard. And then at the end of your turn, you draw back up to 3 cards. Generally speaking, if you're playing 6, you play with only 2 cards. So all these cards do crazy things. Like you could steal a cat from the neighbor on your left and right from their yard. You could, there's a cat burglar who actually goes into the house of one of your neighbors and steals a cat straight out of their house. There's adoption and foster kittens and all this crazy stuff. You can't plan for a lot of anything. I don't know. I did terrible. So one of the other things, this game plays 3 to 6. So Will and I had to simulate a third hand, and that third hand beat us both very soundly. It's not something I'm proud of. And then Will came in second, and I came in a very distant third because the last round of the game, I had one single cat, like, I don't know, on my porch. It didn't matter. I had one single cat, and it was only through trying to do a few things and something Will did that I actually ended up with 5 cats at the end of the game. I had a terrible time in terms of what you're trying to do with this. Just terrible luck, I'll say. This game is very luck dependent. I did not get the cards that just said, oh, take 2 cats from the neighborhood and put them on your porch. No, I didn't get those cards. Will, or the fake, we called him Mr. Hobo because the player boards are unique. Each player board has different artwork. One of them had a totally just rundown house, old furniture that was damaged. And so that was the fake player was Mr. Hobo. So, I mean, I am looking forward to teaching this to my coworkers. It's going to go one of 2 ways. They're going to absolutely love the theme because it's cats, and they're going to be okay with the take that because it's cats. Or they're going to completely hate it because they're losing all the cats that they're trying to collect, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. So when it comes down to it, I feel like I'm being a little generous at giving it a 2.5. It does have relatively good production values. It does have a lot of text. I'm really surprised at some of the design choices to make some of the abilities kind of complicated. And there's supposed to be these blue cards that are defensive cards, which are basically reaction cards you play when somebody else does something. Except they made one of the normal cards kind of do that, but they made it a normal card color, not the defensive blue card. So that, game design-wise, that's kind of questionable. So, but they're cute cats. Also, I have to deduct points. They came up with 4 different colors of cats. They came up with 3 different poses to the cats, and each color has all the poses. If they had made one more pose, they could have assigned each pose of cat to a color, and that would have made it vision friendly. As it is, it's not terrible. The cats are white, black, orange, and gray. So I believe those will be good for most people who have colorblind issues. Those are pretty distinct. I'm just saying they could have gone one more step and actually, the crouching cat is the black, the sitting cat is the white, the pouncing cat, whatever. If they had just made up one more pose. So your mileage with the game may vary. I've talked to a couple people who say that this is a fun filler throwaway game, which, considering I'm going to be playing this with people at work on a Friday when we're all super tired from the week, a fun throwaway game might just be perfect. So actually, I'm kind of glad that I did review this now because I'm definitely going to do a follow-up after I play it with my coworkers. Because for me and Will, if I had bought this game for us, which I wouldn't have anyways because it's a 3-player game, for our type of gaming, it's barely a 2.5. So we'll see how that changes.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's a good deal that your coworker bought it instead of you.
Yeah, it's not one I would have looked up.
And it sounds like it could have gone through maybe another 3 to 6 months of playtesting to work out some of the bugs.
Yeah, I'm just surprised at how light and casual most of the presentation is. They made it very wordy. I would have just stuck to a lot of simpler concepts because I think some of my coworkers are going to take a little bit of extra time with some of those or just be like, this has too many words on it. I'm just not going to deal with it, which is fine. They won't want to. They can do it. Well, plus, I do have one of my coworkers is low vision. So I do need to show her the cards. Unfortunately, she's also the one who bought the game. So I really hope She can read them, but her vision's a lot better than Will.
Oh, okay.
She does have some color blind issues, but like I said, I think those colors are fine. And we can help because at least when it comes to the cats on your board, that's all public information. So if she has any trouble, but I don't think so. White, gray, and it's a light gray. Black and orange are pretty distinct. So it's just whether the text is too small, but we'll see. I will say the artwork is very cute. It's these lovable, playful cats and all the names of the cards are cat puns. Like I said, the cat burglar actually goes in and it's a cat stealing another cat. So, I mean, it's cute. It's really cute.
So it sounds like the best part of the game is the artwork.
Yes, I think the presentation, they did a very good job. The fact that each player board, and there's 6 player boards, is distinct. So I can kind of also see my coworkers fighting over which house they get.
Who gets the hobo house?
Right, I'll probably end up with the hobo house. I'm probably the last person there that likes cats. I mean, I don't hate cats. I'm just not a huge cat person. So I should say the designer is Chris McArdle-Ware. The artist is Tony Steele. This was published by Fireside Games in 2016.
And it's called?
Here, Kitty Kitty.
Okay, nice. Now, I'm going to review a game that also the best aspect of this game is the artwork.
We have a theme.
As longtime listeners of the show may remember, a while back, I did an episode called A Game by Any Other Name. And I did that because I had spent a week out at my brother's sporting clay range helping to judge this, or not judge, but helping to run the state championships for sporting clay shooting. Mm. And I thought, they're doing things for points. That makes it a game.
True.
Anyway, it was a great event. And somewhere, I don't know if it was at that event or if I don't remember if I was doing some research afterwards. I thought there's got to be a game like this. And sure enough, there is. And it's called Pull, a trap shooting game. Oh. Which is exactly what I was helping to run. Mm-hmm. It's designed by Chevy Dodd. Mm-hmm. And the artist and publisher are also Chevy Dodd. So this was very much a self-published vanity project. And he put in a card in the game that said 6 months of playtesting and 13 versions later. And I'm like, that tells me right off the bat that this needed more playtesting.
Yeah.
The artwork is good. They look like sporting clays. There are animals in the game that you're supposed to avoid shooting. If you shoot these animals, then you get negative points. Oof. If you win the bid to shoot the clays, then you get points. Here's the catch. 2 trap cards come out. And if you shoot both of them, you get points, but you get less points than if you had just shot one of them. I know. I was like, what?
Interesting.
So each player is dealt 10 cards. These are your shot point cards. They've got numbers on them ranging from 1 to 8. For some reason, 1 cancels out 8. I think that you shot so badly that you distracted the really good shooter.
Okay.
And so their shot doesn't count. But only a 1 can beat an 8.
Okay.
I know, it sounds confusing. Each round, 2 trap cards are put out. And then you play a card on one of the cards to bid. Oh, I should add, each of the cards, whether they're shooting cards or trap cards, have suits. So they have their own color. And there's orange and black and gray and yellow, or gold, not yellow, gold, and green. I think there are 5 suits altogether. And if you have a card in your hand that matches the suit of the trap, one of the traps on, or any of the traps on the table, you have to play a matching suit. Even if it's not your best number. So if you're holding a handful of cards and you have an orange 2 and there's an orange trap on the table, your best bid for that one right there has to be your orange 2. When you could have played a green 8 and still won. It had some screwy rules.
Yeah.
You're supposed to play to 200. We were tired before 80.
Oof. That's not good.
Yeah. And at about 50 something, we said, let's just play to 100. Mm-hmm. I mentioned animals. the animals are in the trap deck. So if an animal comes out, you want to try and lose that one because they're worth negative points.
Right.
If you shoot 2 of them, they're worth 0 points. And I'm like, okay, you're not supposed to shoot the animals, but if you shoot both of them, then you're okay.
Somehow that cancels out. Maybe have dinner for the night.
I guess. And they were like eagles and rabbits, and I think there was a turtle. I mean, just lots of different animals that you would probably see around a shooting range. Not turtles so much, but anyway, it was just a confusing game. It was kickstarted. Oh, and if you get too many of the animal cards, you get these little markers that are shaped as birds in flight.
Okay.
And if you get 5 of these markers, that's an automatic negative 20 points next time you score.
Right, because, of course.
Okay. Mark got 5 of those cards before he hit 50. Or 5 of those birds before he hit 50. And then I got 5. And then Mark got his second handful of 5. And we hadn't even hit 100 yet.
Dang.
So I think there were too many animals in the trap deck.
Yeah, that's a lot of negative loops.
Yeah. And I mean, and we were getting like 2 animals together. Trust me, when these people are out doing this activity, they're not aiming for animals. And the animals know better than to come running out. So anyway, like I said, we called the game before we even got to 100. To be kind, I have to give it a 2. It has good potential as kindling. I bought this game for like $5 from somebody who lives in Woodland, which is a little town near Sacramento. Actually, I offered to buy it for $5. I found him through Board Game Geek. He goes, "Oh, I'm a fan of your show. I'll just give it to you." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's nice of you," because I didn't think anybody had ever asked for this game. I said, "Well, I have family connections, to the topic. So I am going to give it to my brother just because I think he'd enjoy the theme." I don't know that he'd enjoy the game, but he'd enjoy the theme of it. Hey, look, somebody made a game.
Yeah. You put it on your shelf and it's like, oh, yes, you like trap shooting. So, of course, you have a game about trap shooting.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's mostly what I acquired it for, was to, show my brother, hey, look, there's a game for everything. It's called Pull, a trap shooting game, which, it's a decent name for the game. It's just not really a decent game, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it would be a good one.
That is.
Anyway, so that's Pull, a trap shooting game. Yeah. Moving on.
Okay. Well, here's another game that I'm hoping to teach my coworkers eventually. I don't think I'm going to take it anytime real soon. And that is Okie Dokie. It is designed by Hisashi Hayashi. Hopefully I got that right. It's originally published by Okazu brand, but Tasty Minstrel has been bringing a lot of their games over to the United States. This one came out in 2016. The artist is Ryu Niyamo. I will say that this is a very interesting puzzle cooperative. I'll talk about the theme in a moment because the theme doesn't matter. This is very much just, this looks pretty, but it doesn't make a lick of sense. And I have to caveat that I have only played this solo, and then Will and I played it together, but we played it together as solo because we played it last night when the power went out and we just had a couple of flashlights and lanterns, so Will couldn't read the cards. So but
as an aside, I saw that you didn't have power last night because of the storm. And I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to take advantage of that and play Nyctophobia.
Oh, that would have been good. The only problem with Nyctophobia, though, is it's still, you should play it with 3 players minimum.
Okay.
We were going to try to do a 2-player variant to see if that works. However, we don't know the rules to it yet, so we'd still need some light. Anywho, that would have been a good idea.
Anyway, back to Okie Dokie.
Okie Dokie. So Okie Dokie is a puzzle cooperative game. Everybody's going to have a certain number of cards, and like a lot of cooperatives that, what I see the balance of cooperatives, either you have a complicated game that then the players are working against, and you can usually have completely open information. Or you have a very simple game where you have to limit communication as the challenge to overcome to succeed together. And this is the latter because it's a very small deck of cards. So everyone has some cards, but you can't say exactly what you have in your hand. I believe you can say how many cards of a certain color or suit that you have, but you can't say exactly. But you are trying to get the numbers sequentially in order from left to right. There are 5 different colors, and so once you start and you put a color down in a row, that row will now always be that color. The thing is, you have to complete a column before you can move on to the next column. So you're building the rows by column. And there's some complicating factors. The next card you play after has to be a higher value, but you're not necessarily going to have the 1 to start with. So you might have to put the 2 or the 3 or maybe even the 5 in the first column and hope you can just keep going up from there. The numbers range from 1 to 8. What the good news is, each row has 2 reset cards that have to be played by the end of the game, and they're 0, so they can reset the row back. So you're going to eventually have, if you succeed, 10 columns because each row is going to have 1 through 8 somehow, and then the resets. You might end up with 2, 3, 5, a reset, and then you might actually get 1, and then 6, 7, so on. There's another complicating factor is that you can only have 1 reset in a column. So basically each column consists of 4 colors, or whatever the suits, and then 1 reset. But there's only 2 resets per row. So you've got to balance all these restrictions, plus the fact that when you do play a full 2-player or 2 or more player game, because again, we only played it solo, you can't really communicate a lot of information. So you can't say, oh, I have the 1 blue or whatever. So the reason why I'm not going to introduce this to my coworkers just yet is that I've been introducing other cooperative games that are a challenge to them, and they have complete open information. Like I've taught them Forbidden Island once, and that was a bit of a rocky experience, but it worked. This one would really require a lot of attention and focus. And as I've noticed on a Friday, more often than not, they don't really want to focus, which again is fine. So let's talk about the theme. The theme is you're putting together a musical festival. Hold on, let me actually read this. You are trying to put on a musical festival that includes a lot of different performers, and you'll have to place all the 50 cards, like I said. So each color is a different musical instrument. Like there's the piano, a microphone, I'm forgetting the other ones. Then there's a picture of an animal, and the animals correspond with the numbers. So all the 8s would have like the elephant. I don't know if that's true, but this other number would have all the lions. So you've got animal musicians on the cards. Again, the theme is not there. The other thing is they went with bright and colorful, which works for most people, but they went with more pastel colors. So this is also very difficult for Will and other people who have low vision, or potentially, because yellow on white, again, is hard to see. Purple is probably the best, but like Will had the most trouble with the blue because I used a really light aqua blue. So again, another game I've seen where the color choices, they could have just punched it up. You can still do bright, but do dark bright. That doesn't make sense. You can do deeper colors that can still be bright if you stay away from the pastel. Or you do the background as black, although that's, again, not what they wanted because they wanted bright and colorful. So again, the colorblind accessibility will be fine if all you have is colorblind, because the colors correspond to the instrument and the number corresponds to the animal. But then again, the animal doesn't matter. You can see the number. But if you have any other vision issues, it might be a challenge because they did pastel on white. So overall, having just played this without, again, playing with my coworkers, I do give it a 3. It's a very solid game. I can actually see myself playing this solo because you can play it solo. My first experience was solo, and I did enjoy that challenge. There's also, I forgot, there's a way to make it easier. There's 3 equal cards that get shuffled into the deck, or up to 3. You can make it harder by taking 1 or 2 or all 3 out. You can play them like a normal card, and all it means is that it takes up a spot and it's equal to whatever's to the left. So the one on the right will be whatever's next. And they're multicolor, so you can put in any row. So that's a way to make it a little bit easier. But it's pretty challenging, and I can see as you add more and more players, even on easy, unless your group is really synergized, this is going to be hard to win quite a lot. So that is okie dokie. It is okie. Yeah, it is okie dokie.
I have heard of Hisashi Hayashi. Can't remember what designs he's done. Is it he or she?
I know.
Okay.
I am not sure. Let me see.
Okay.
I want to. It's a guy. Okay, good. I'm looking at Board Game Geek. I know Railways of the World.
Yokohama. I knew I'd heard of him on a big game.
Wow, this is like not completely different, but really different.
That's okay.
From that.
You know, designers do different themes all the time.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, Will and I do a lot of different things.
Well,
so,
cool. All right. My next game is not a new game. In fact, this was the first game that Mark and I bought together. And we actually, kind of a funny story. Mark and I met, and I say that in quotes, in July, but we didn't meet each other until December. We were at a live action role playing game, and he was in character all the time. So I met his character. I met the character that is my husband in December at a friend's house where I brought a game. I brought Robo Rally to play at a Christmas party. And we met over a game of Robo Rally. Anyway, I was in a marriage at the time that was spiraling out of control, and eventually left that. And I also left behind my copy of Robo Rally. That's okay. It was worth it. One of the things that we were doing one day was we went to Arden Fair Mall, and at the time there was a Wizards of the Coast store there.
Yeah.
I went, I want to get a copy of Robo Rally because, I don't have mine anymore. And so we went and we bought a copy, and we still have it.
Nice.
The other day, I was like, we were doing the whole, want to play a game? Yeah. What do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? And first thing we did was we pulled out Pull and played that. And then when we were done with that, I said, well, do you want to play another game? He goes, yeah, isn't one of your criteria for your 52 game challenge this year, isn't it a game with a box that its primary color is red? And I said, yeah. And I started looking around and what could we play? And he goes, let's play Robo Rally. I was like, yeah, sure. Because it is still one of my favorite games of all time. It used to be my absolute favorite game of all time, but that we all know that got displaced by Firefly. But it is still in the top 5 easily. And so we played a 2-board, 4-flag game of Robo Rally. So in Robo Rally, you are supercomputers that have achieved sentience. You each have your own factory that you control, and you have these little robots that, go around the floor doing your bidding. And to alleviate your boredom, the AIs on this planet that makes all these, widgets and who's-its and whatever have come together for this giant tournament called Robo Rally. And the racetrack is a factory floor with pits and conveyor belts that go at different speeds and lasers, and you can have flamethrowers, and you can have oil slicks that make you slide, and you can have canners and that crush your robot and turn it into, a tin can. And you're supposed to do a capture the flag. So you're racing around trying to capture these flags in the correct order. Mm-hmm. And first one to get all the flags wins. The funny thing about it is it's a programming game. So you get dealt 7 cards. You have 5 computer registers that you can program your robot for. And each card that you get has something like move forward 3, or turn left, or turn right, back up, do a U-turn. You can go forward 1, 2, or 3 spaces, depending on what the card says. The funny part is you have to program this not for your right and left, but for your robot's right and left. Mm-hmm. And what is funny is that people forget that. Or they can't figure it out. And so then they end up someplace they didn't intend. Like at the bottom of a pit.
Uh-oh.
Or on a conveyor belt heading for a row of canners. Stuff like that. Or conveyor belt that will take you off the edge of the board, which is just one big giant pit. So it's fun to play this game. It's more fun to play this game in a big group. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of interaction. Oh, also, too, the robots all have a forward-pointing laser that fires at the end of every round. And it just fires in a straight line. So if there's someone that's an opponent in a straight line in front of you, they're going to take damage. And if you take enough damage, then your registers start getting locked. Mm. It starts with your 5th register and then your 4th and your 3rd. You get 9 cards every turn. It starts by reducing the number of cards that you can get. And then when you get to 5 points of damage, then your registers start getting locked. And so then you may have at the end of your program a move 3 and turn right. Well, when you're planning your next move, you have to take those cards into account because they're not going anywhere. Your programming is stuck. So, but there are spots where you can stop and heal damage. You just hope that you don't take more damage while you're stopped to heal damage. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it is a fun game. And the more people you have involved, the more interaction there is. Robots can push each other. They can shoot each other. There are upgrades to your robot that you can acquire that protect you or cause your opponents more damage. It's kind of think of a demolition derby with robots. Kind of thing. So it there's a lot of take that. I don't think this is your kind of game.
No, I have yet to find any programming game that I like. Now, we did back Tiny Epic Mechs, which has some programming in it. So I figure with the Tiny Epic series, it's not a lot of money. Some of them have been hit or miss with us, but it has programming. And when we watched the video, Will was like, yeah, let's give that a try. Because the other part, it's not vision friendly for Will to play most of the programming games because they're big, giant maps and he can't see.
I would like to introduce you and Will to Mechs vs. Minions, which is a cooperative programming game.
Yeah, that would be different because I like co-ops. So then at least at that point, I'm not trying to beat everyone else.
Right.
I am definitely the kind of person that I like to be able to strategize and not have people affect what I do. And that's the complete opposite of a programming game. I mean, just...
Yeah. I definitely don't think you would enjoy Robo Rally.
I think I would enjoy watching people play Robo Rally.
There you go. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mark and I played this 2-player game of Robo Rally. It went pretty quickly, and we didn't have too much hilarity ensue. I only got to shoot Mark once with my laser. And so he only took 1 point of damage, and he healed that pretty quickly, and then we went on our way. I ended up winning.
Hey!
And I think the real reason I won was that we were both heading for the 4th flag together, except that I was on a conveyor belt going towards the target, and he was on a conveyor belt going away from the target. So he was having to go upstream against the conveyor belt, and he just didn't get enough move 3s to make it happen. Yeah. So I ended up winning. It was a close game. It was a fun game.
That's good.
We just played it on a couple of easy maps. We did do 4 flags, and the 1st and 4th were on one map, and the 2nd and 3rd were on another map. So there was a little bit of running around. But it was fun to play. I think this would be a great game to pull out again for a convention. Mm-hmm. You can set up, really big maps. There were, I want to say 3 expansions to the game.
Wow.
And I had all 3 expansions before my marriage fell apart. And now they're like $300 a piece, because they're out of print. But I do have the base game, and I went and I found a place online where I could print out the maps. I didn't get the cards that came with the expansions, but I did get the maps that came with the expansions. And I printed them out and taped them all together and then took them to FedEx and had them laminate them for me.
Oh, sweet.
So, they're the same size as all the rest of the maps in the game. So that's kind of cool. But I love this game. This game will be on my top 10 for sure. For a very, very long time, just because of all the happy memories I have with it. I give it a 4.5.
Nice.
Just because I know it's not for everybody. So, and I have not tried the new version that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I just haven't tried it yet. I'd like to.
Yeah, I thought that it had been in the, I wouldn't say news recently, but I thought it had crossed my radar recently. So they did do a second edition. I wonder if they did any of the expansions.
I haven't heard about any of the expansions coming out. I did hear that they streamlined it. They tweaked it a little bit to make it just a little more streamlined, a little easier to play. So I would like to try it. I just haven't picked up a copy yet.
Right.
An interesting story about Robo Rally. I don't know if you've heard this story. Richard Garfield is the designer.
Right.
He's a brilliant designer. He took this game to Wizards of the Coast and basically said, "Hey, what do you think?" And they said, "Yeah, this is cool, but you know what we're really looking for right now is a card game." And he went, "Oh, all right, no problem. I'll be right back." And so he went and designed a little card game that you might have heard of called Magic the Gathering.
That is a hilarious story, and no, I have never heard that before. That's fantastic.
Anyway, once Magic the Gathering took off like wildfire, they Wizards of the Coast went back to him and said, "What else you got?" And he goes, "Well, you remember this other game I told you about?" And they went, "Yeah, sure. We'll go ahead and publish that."
Wow.
And it didn't take off like wildfire like Magic did, but it did do pretty well for them early on. So
yeah, I think Robo Rally was more of a slow burn. I think it's become more and more popular as time passes, because I know people who play it who are new to the hobby, old to the hobby. It's just one of those games that if someone has a copy, because there are so many copies out there, and of course now there's a new edition, it's a really accessible game, like for the most part. Like you said, you could play it at a convention. I think it's just still around so much. So yeah, can't compare to Magic the Gathering, but it's got its fans.
Definitely, and I am one of them.
Yeah.
So that is Robo Rally. And that's what we've been playing. We have set up and been referring to and rating games by our own rating scale. Here's how we are using this scale. 5. Buy this now. 4. A good solid game. 3. Decent with some bugs. 2. Has great potential as kindling. And 1. Give me back the time I spent playing it. Today, I am joined by AnnaMaria Jackson-Phelps, who has an exciting announcement to make about her blog, Girls Play Games. AnnaMaria, what's your big news?
Well, the big news is that after a year, Girls Play Games is actually merging with Girls Game Shelf. Girls Game Shelf is becoming the home of my blog, which will actually be the Girls Game Shelf blog. I will be the editor-in-chief of the website. Kiki will continue making amazing videos, and we're gonna bring this forward into the new year.
Nice. Give us a short overview of what brought you all to this point in your journey. I mean, how did you guys meet up and decide to work together?
Well, it's kind of funny because it's really a full circle for me. When I first started writing about games, Kiki was the first person that I contacted to interview. And it was eye-opening. She was so nice. She really made me feel hugely welcome in the community, even though I was just brand new at that point. So we continued corresponding. after the interview. And as I was kind of building up and doing things, she was, cheerleading. And then I got to see all the amazing stuff she's been doing with Girls Game Shelf. So we've known each other now for probably just over a year. And about, I'd say maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I approached her with the idea of maybe we should get together and try and do it together. So it's great to have someone else who's very like-minded, not only on your team, but like genuinely working with you to build something amazing.
Nice. Girls Game Shelf actually kind of inspired me to start our turn.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a few of their videos and I went, gosh, I wish there were more women who were doing podcasts too. And then I went, well, you could do something about that. And I don't remember if it was Kiki or if it was someone else in the women's forum on Board Game Geek, when I posted a post in there and said, hey, what do you all think about this idea? One of the ladies from Girls Game Shelf was one of the first ones to encourage me to do it.
That's terrific.
It is. It's great. It's wonderful. So big fan. And I can't believe in 2 years I haven't had any of them on the show. I need to correct that.
Oh, absolutely. She actually wanted me to say she was sorry that she couldn't be here tonight because we've been really going forward with this. So we just broke the news like 2 days ago, and it's been pretty crazy.
I imagine. So what it sparked this whole idea to merge your efforts?
Well, Kiki is amazing when it comes to video, and really, like you said, kind of trailblazing for a lot of folks, and has encouraged a lot of people in the community to do things. And I had come on to do a column on her website, I guess about 4 or 5 months ago. And as I was working on that and getting to work with her a little bit more and just kind of see what was behind the scenes, I was like, oh, we've got this really similar style of working. And, she's all into the video side. I'm all into the written side. If we kind of put those together, what we could really start covering a lot more things and doing a lot more collaborations.
So what's next on this exciting journey for you all?
Oh, wow. Just lots and lots of amazing content. This is going to free her up to be able to really focus on putting out a lot more videos and a lot more, corner shelves, as well as the regular Girls Game Shelf videos. She's got, we just got Jack, added as one of the regular players on the show as well, which I'm super excited about because her enthusiasm for games just is completely infectious. And I say that and it sounds like, oh, no, I'm serious. Like she starts to talk about something and I don't care if you thought it was boring. By the end of the conversation, you're like, yeah, I want to play that. So
nice.
That's going to be so cool. And I have started moving some of my older columns over. And as I'm working through designing women, we're kind of going back and updating with a lot of those designers to see where they've gone, to see what happened, after the Kickstarter or, when they got published and that sort of thing. So it's really exciting to get to check in on some of these designers who I talk to fairly regularly, but, to kind of put out there to everyone, you read about her a year ago, what's she up to now sort of thing. But primarily this gives both of us the opportunity to kind of push forward and do more to encourage diversity and inclusivity in the community. And that is, that's enormous, we're really looking forward to working with the community and working with each other to kind of, to move that forward, to make women in particular, at the forefront of gaming, to bring them more into the light, and that sort of thing.
Nice. That's fantastic. Well, I wish you all the luck with your merger, and it sounds like it's going to be a great collaboration.
Thank you.
All right, for today's hot topic, Sarah and I are talking about our plans for board game challenges for 2019.
Yep.
And I thought we'd start off by talking about why on earth would anyone want to do a board game challenge? So, Sarah, you created the 10 by 10 challenge on Board Game Geek. Let's start with that. Why would anyone want to create, much less do, a board game challenge?
I think a lot of it stems from, if you're first in the hobby, you're just trying to figure things out. So challenges, I don't feel personally, are necessarily the best for new gamers, but maybe there's somebody who wants to do one with somebody. It's fine. As I got deeper into the hobby, one of the things I found that Will and I were falling victim to was the cult of the new. We kept playing new games. We'd play a game once. We'd move on to the next game. The next game, by the time we got back to that first game, we found sometimes it was 6 months, 8 months, 2 years between playing a game. And we'd only played it once the first time. And so we had to relearn all the rules because it was basically like a brand new game. And also I felt like I wasn't getting any good at games. And it wasn't just about losing. I mean, that sucks for sure, but it was more about I didn't feel like I was grasping the strategy of the games, digging deeper, getting into the meat of these games. And so through talking to some of the ladies on the Women in Gaming forum on Board Game Geek, some of the other ladies felt the same way. And I love to organize. It's just one of the things I like to do. And that's why Will has to hold me back because sometimes I overdo things. But I said, well, this is pretty simple. Let's just do an arbitrary structure. But we need to pick some games and play each one more than once, more than twice. And so 10 by 10, I don't know where I got up that idea. I've now seen it 10 by 10 being applied to a lot of other things in the whole wide world. So obviously I'm not the only one who has this concept of pick 10 things, do that thing 10 times. So I created the geek list because I was like, sure, if I'm spearheading this, I can manage a geek list for me and 20 other ladies. That's fine. Yeah. We're laughing because it blew up. And then everybody was asking me questions on what works. Do I have to pick things ahead of time? But what if I want to change things? And so that's how we got 2 versions, the normal and the hardcore. Normal being you just play whatever you want. You could even play whatever you want. And at the end of the year, just look back and see what 10 games you played 10 times. Or hardcore, which is what I had started out with, was that you pick 10 ahead of time. You cannot change those. You have to get through them. Of course, over time, I've learned a balance in that, unfortunately for me, that experience made me really sour on a couple of games, including one that used to be my favorite, Village, because there's certain games you get to like 5 plays and you're like, okay, I understand how this game plays. I don't need to push myself to play it 5 more times this year. And so that's where a lot of people fails. They put large games on their games they don't own yet, which is never a good idea. Anywho, and the cool thing is my 10 by 10 inspired a whole bunch of other people to modify a challenge to fit their lifestyle. I know people who do a 5 by 5, a 10 by 5, or whatever it is, where it's more games, fewer plays each. And I think it's great that people engage in the hobby. And it's, I think, the desire to structure your hobby as well as engage with other people, because then you can talk about it. I'm like, hey, what game do you have on your 10 by 10? Oh, I have that game too. And if we're close by, maybe we could play it together, So I think it's about engaging with the community, engaging deeper into your hobby. I think that's why people do board game challenges. And I definitely believe they are not for everybody.
So now we're both doing more than one board game challenge.
Because we're crazy.
Why are we that crazy?
Again, I think it's just, I consider us both hardcore gamers. We're in over our heads sometimes.
Us?
No. I mean, look, we're doing a podcast. I mean, that's really engaging into your hobby when you start creating content for the community in the hobby. So why would you do more than one is to get different challenges. So my 10 by 10 is to get into the meat of 10 games. You're doing the 100 by 1 where you play 100 different games. So that's diversity. Getting a chance to play a wide variety of games is a completely different experience, a completely different goal. Like that's actually something I would suggest to someone new at the hobby is play a lot of different games. It'll help you figure out who you are as a gamer, what you like, what you don't like. And it's great if you can go and play other people's copies so you don't invest your money into it. And then you can slowly start to learn about yourself. I think that's really what challenges do. They help you learn about yourself as a gamer. I know it's brought some families together, which is fantastic, to say, hey, now we have a family game night, and that brings relationships together. So there's a lot of reasons to do challenges. To do more than one might be a little crazy, but it can also be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I know. I like doing the 10 by 10. I have to make sure to pick games that Mark likes to play as well, because he is my primary playing partner. So we have to make sure it's a good 2-player game. You know, in spite of our previous conversation here, Robo Rally is not going to be on my 10 by 10 list because I couldn't get Mark to play it 10 times in a year. And because I think it's more fun to play in bigger groups. Now, I am doing 5 challenges this year.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but I am allowing myself overlap. So, you know, a game that's on my 10 by 10 challenge is probably going to count for one of the 52 criteria on my 52 game challenge.
Right.
It's going to count as one game played on my 100 by 1. I'm not going to count all 10 plays on my 100 by 1 because that's not how it works.
Right.
And it's probably also going to count as a letter on my alphabet challenge.
Yeah.
And it may also count as a game on my unplayed shelf challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, I'm not going to hamstring myself by saying none of these challenges can overlap. That would just be crazy. Because as much as I enjoy playing games, I think I would probably finish 2019 in divorce court. As much as Mark enjoys playing games, he wouldn't be able to play any games that he wanted to play. Right. If we just, you know, went with none of these shall overlap.
Right. Yeah, it's about moderation. And I think there's always a learning curve. Once somebody discovers that there are board game challenges, they usually go gung-ho and like, oh, I'm going to do the hardest core. Mine won't overlap. I'm going to do this. And then they fail and they feel miserable. And the thing is that, and then they're like, oh, I'm terrible. I can't play games. And then just finding that balance of, okay, so I didn't do a challenge. It's a self-imposed challenge. It's okay. And next year, it's like, if I want to keep doing it, well, I got to find the moderation of where it works. Like, I have found from families, it's, oh, last year I forgot to talk to my game group. I forgot to talk to my gaming partner, or I forgot to talk to my family. It's like, if you're going to do these challenges and involve other people regularly, they need to sign on. So I've heard lots of families that say, oh, my daughter picked a few, my son picked a couple, and my wife picked some, and I picked some, and then we all came together and we picked the remaining ones together. That is important. And I think that can help mitigate the failure is that if you have commitment from the people. I mean, I see people put really big, heavy games on, which works if you have a game group that says, oh yeah, we're going to play this campaign game. It takes 12 games to get through it anyways. We're going to put that on the 10 by 10 and everybody's doing it. So that works.
Yep, that works. Last year, I was kind of wishing I had done the 10 by 10 challenge because I ended up playing Charterstone like 21 times. Here's a question. What happens if you fail to finish a challenge?
Well,
does the community look down on you?
No. Nobody's going to care except you. And guess what? Most people are going to say is, oh, it's okay. Look at the fun you did have. If you 2 games away from the end, 30 games away from the end, it doesn't matter how many games you are away from finishing. Look at what you did play. Again, it's always what the look at how full your glass is, not how empty your glass is. Right. So think back to the games you played and how much fun you had, because that's what these are for, to enhance the fun.
Right. And going back to what Sarah was saying about involving your game group and your spouse and your family in your challenge, as I was nearing the end of my 52 game challenge, which let me explain that. There are 52 different criteria that the organizer has come up with. And you have to play a different game that meets each one of those criteria. You can't use, for example, you can't use Flashpoint Fire Rescue for something involving fire and water and something involving a first and second edition.
Right.
Which happened to be 2 criteria on my list this year. You can only use Flashpoint Fire Rescue for one of those. Mm-hmm. And so that encourages you to play 52 different games in the year.
Right.
The 100 by 1 is also encouraging you to do diversity. It's just leaving it open to you to which 100 games are you going to play.
Right.
Now, if 100 games sounds overwhelming, try the 52 game challenge, or just try doing a 50 by 1 or 25 by 1. Nobody's going to look down on you for whatever you decide to do. If you decide not to do any, that's your choice as well. It's just a fun way to kind of challenge yourself to, like Sarah's challenge, get into the meat of these games and learn them, explore them. I know when I reviewed Oaxaca, I mentioned that one of the things I needed to do was I'd only played it twice. I needed to explore this game some more because there was a lot there. There is a lot there. And so Oaxaca is definitely on my 10 by 10 list this year.
Aw, thank you.
and Mark absolutely agreed with me. He's looking forward to our next 10 plays of Oaxaca. I sat down, I created this list, and then I took it to Mark and I said, here's what I'm thinking for the 10 by 10. And I'm not doing the hardcore, so if we want to change any of these at any point, we can. And he's like, okay. And I read him off the list, and I think he looked at one of them and said, no, not that one. Okay, what do you want to play then? And so he picked a game, and I went, yeah, I think we could do that. And so penciled it in. It's fine.
Yep. It's totally fine. Well, and here's the other thing. Some people do challenges that don't happen within a year. I have seen some people that do the 1 by 100, where you pick one game, play it 100 times, and they just play it until they're done. And it has to happen in a year. A year is an arbitrary measurement of time. It's just an easy way to say, here's your start point, here's your end point. I know a bunch of people, and for one of mine, I'm doing it the same way. Is during Christmas, I started it, so I'm going to do it until next Christmas. Whenever you want to structure your challenge, it's totally up to you. It doesn't have to be a year. So.
Now, I have a whole lot of games on my unplayed game shelf.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the things that I am doing this year, is just seeing if I can reduce that.
Yes.
And, whether they go onto the played game shelf or they go onto the trade or sell pile, that doesn't matter. But the idea is to get through some of the stuff that's on my shelf. Now, I'm not putting a moratorium on buying things with me. My budget does that pretty firmly right now anyway.
Right.
But I'm not counting in that challenge anything that I do buy after January 1st. It's not counting against me. It's not counting for me either. Because I have a lot of good games on my game shelf. I mean, games that I've heard really good reviews about that I haven't played.
Yep. Me too.
I've got the Networks. I've played the Networks once. Then I went out and bought my own copy, and it's still in shrink wrap.
Yeah.
I like that game. I want to explore that game. I've gotten some Kickstarters that are still sitting in shrink wrap on my shelf. So I need to, and I've got some more that are coming. In fact, I got one yesterday. And so, I need to sit down and invest the time to play these games without indulging myself or feeling like I need to indulge myself all the time in the new hotness.
Right.
Yes, I am going to probably pick up some new hotness throughout the year. I'm planning to get Wingspan at some point here, just because that looks amazing.
Yeah, it really does.
But I also have a lot of games on my shelf that are probably amazing. I just haven't taken the time to learn them and play them yet.
Right. Yeah, same thing for me. I mean, I do keep track of games that come in over the year, because my goal with doing my unplayed, 2 things. One is play each unplayed game twice, because I've had a few games fool me in the first play. And I know you've said that that's one of the things that you're going to be doing too.
Yes, that's what Mark and I do too. It stays on the unplayed game shelf until we've played it at least twice, unless we play it and we're like, nope, we're done.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I've done with a couple of games. but I've had ones where I liked it in the first play, but then nope, didn't. Or I wasn't sure in the first play, or I didn't like it, but I still wanted to try it again. So I feel like giving it 2 shots is a good way. But for me, it's more about, sadly, maintaining my unplayed. Because I do buy a lot. And the thing is, Will and I, in all of the hobbies we've ever been in, we are collectors. I can't deny that. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I buy games, yes, obviously to play, but I buy games to collect the games. Again, it could be that if everything went bad and I had to stop buying games completely, I would have a lot of games to play for the rest of my life without having to buy a new game. But since I can buy games right now, I do buy games because they do go out of print. They aren't carried or aren't available. So if I can afford it, and obviously it's never go beyond your budgetary constraints. You need to eat and other things.
And pay rent. It's awfully hard to carry your game collection around in a bicycle cart.
Exactly. So my unplayed challenge, to get back to that, is I look at how many games I had on the list to start the year, and I try to keep that number. Now, granted, I did not do so well last year. I think I started with 52 and went up almost to 72. But that means, though, I played a lot. I got a lot off the list, and then I got a bunch of new games in. So for me, it's more about getting through them. But I've still got games on there that I probably have had for 4 years or more, haven't gotten to them. So I don't really have any structure on how I go about the unplayed. I do have a small section for the ones that need to be played again. So when I see that section getting full, I'm like, well, we need to play these again or decide we're not going to keep them so that we can clear up that space for more games. So that's, for me, is the unplayed, is to continue playing new games and figuring out whether they're right for us. Now, for the 10 by 10, I structure mine a little differently. Other than Dominion, because I want to do a podcast piece ranking the Dominion expansions. That's on my 10 by 10 because there's like 12 expansions. I don't add a game to my 10 by 10 until I've played 5 plays of the game naturally. Well, relatively naturally. Then if I'm like, okay, I made it to 5 plays, do I feel like this is something I could pursue another 5 plays? And if so, then I put it on the list. I actually don't involve Will in too many of them because he's not fond of the 10 by 10. Again, he was my main gaming partner for the first couple of years, and I burnt him out of the challenge. It's not what he cares to do about the game. I mean, for engaging in games. So I only include him in a couple. Like, he wants to really play Fleet, the dice game that we just got. So I wouldn't be surprised just from, he normally doesn't ask to play a game, and that one he's asked to play. So that one I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on there because he likes it so much. So I assume several of the games that I play with my coworkers will end up on there, or the games I play on my iPad for iGame night. So that'll fit in there. And then my last challenge is learn 100 games, which Carla of Weird Giraffe Games came up with. And this one I think is just great for designers, publishers, is after you play a game, analyze the game and learn something from it. And it can be any game. It can be a game you played before. It can be a game you haven't played before. But it's just sometime, and we started this at Christmas, so it's going to go to next Christmas. I know I'm going to play 100 different games. It happens every year. So I don't have to analyze every single game. It's just pick ones if I feel like I can learn something from it. So for her, she's also looking at it, a publisher, like, would I make these decisions graphically, or is this what I would do with the box? For me, I'm looking at it more from design tools, what I would or would not necessarily do with the mechanisms or other choices. So those are the 3 I'm doing this year.
Nice. All right. I decided I'm going to give the 10 by 10 a try.
Okay.
Mark likes to say that I'm my worst critic.
Yeah.
And the first time I tried to do a 10 by 10, I failed miserably. And I was really kind of hard on myself for that and decided I'm not going to do that one again.
Like I said, it's not for everyone.
Oh, yeah. But this year, I think I've got some good, solid choices on there. I cleared them with Mark first. So
that's important.
Yeah. I think that'll get done. I did finish my 100 by 1 last year. I did finish my alphabet challenge last year and my 52 game challenge last year. So I'm going to definitely do those. And then my goal for my unplayed challenge, and this is just my own personal challenge. This isn't an organized challenge. I've written down, put into a spreadsheet all of the games on my unplayed game shelf, I have over 100.
Yeah, I'm pretty high too right now.
Yeah. We have to play games twice. My first goal to aim for is to play 25% of the games off the shelf.
Nice. That's a good, manageable goal.
Yeah. If I can achieve that before, say, June or July, then I'm going to aim for 50%. Again, it's just trying to find motivation and reason to get these games to the table. I've run all these challenges past Mark, and he's like, yeah, I can help you with those. I've told my game group about me wanting to do these challenges. They all think I'm nuts. But when I say, hey, I need to play this game for one of my challenges, their usual response is, all right, let's play.
Good, good. So they're supportive in their way.
Yeah. Towards the end of last year, I was like, I need a game where low score wins.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Dwayne, hi Dwayne, he goes, oh yeah, Poison. I've never heard of Poison. Okay, apparently it's a game from like back in 2003 or 2005, something like that.
Old
Rainer
game.
Knizia game. Anyway, and so we played it. It was a fun game. Low score wins. So I was all ready to add that to my list, but I couldn't find it on Board Game Geek. And I'm like, a Rainer Knizia game, not on Board Game Geek? What? Well, it turns out it had a different name, which was Friday the 13th. Well, one of the other criteria on my list was a game with a day of the week in the title.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been going to play Friday, which is a solo game, but I'm not a solo game player.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Well, now I have Poison, a.k.a. Friday the 13th. I moved that into the Friday or into the day of the week criteria. And I played 6 Nimmt.
Yep.
Which is another game where the low score wins. Hey, I hit my challenges.
There you go.
Woot. Yep. So, for me, it is just a matter of making sure I'm playing different games. Mm-hmm. I have to have different games to talk about on the show.
Yeah.
It would be pretty boring if every week I came and said, I played Terraforming Mars this week.
Again.
Yes. Terraforming Mars would have been on my 10 by 10 last year. For sure. I think I ended up playing it 12 times.
Wow.
But you guys don't want to hear about every time I play Terraforming Mars, as great a game as it is. You don't want to hear about every instance of Battlestar Galactica that I play. Mm-hmm. So in order to encourage the diversity that's required to do a show like this, a 100 by 1 challenge, an alphabet challenge, and a 52 game challenge are right up my alley. And that's why I do it.
Awesome.
So do you have fun doing your challenges, Sarah?
I do. Now that I have found my balance, like I said, that learning curve of, like you said, you like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you fail. And you beat yourself up and you're like, I'm never doing this again. And then you're like, well, let me try a softer version and let me do it this way. And then, it's finding that balance, because I do really like what you said about it's a motivational tool. Mm-hmm. And it seems weird that we would need motivation to play games, but there are times where, like you said, you sit there with your friends or just even your significant other and you're looking at all these games. And you're like, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? I don't know. It just goes through and it's like, well, when we get to that point, it's like, oh, I've got this challenge. I've got that challenge. And you can list 3 or 4 games pretty quick on, these are ones I'd like to play for my challenges. And then the people you're playing with will be like, oh, okay, now I have choices. Right. It always comes down to, as much as we love having big libraries of games, if you give somebody more than, I think they did a study on this, like 7 or 8 choices, they become paralyzed with being able to make a choice.
Exactly. My friend Dwayne posted a picture on our Facebook group. Mm-hmm. It was 5 skeletons sitting on a set of stairs. And the caption was, I don't know, what game do you want to play? I don't know, what game do you want to play? Yep. And it said, us making a decision on game night. Mm-hmm. You literally are going to just go round and round and round until you run out of time to play games and you haven't played anything.
Yep. So I think these challenges can help guide you to play games. It, like I said, it seems like an odd concept, but it works. And then you feel like you have an achievement. Or like I said, you're just a different goal of whether you want diversity or whether you want to get into the meat of things or you want to challenge yourself. Like the 52 game criteria sounds crazy to me because it's these bizarre criteria, but it really makes you think and look into new games. Games you've never, not necessarily new as in came out this year, but different games that you've never heard of, or somebody's like, oh yeah, I got this game from 2003. And you're like, okay, let's try this thing. So yeah, I like to do the board game challenges. I don't always do them. I think this year is the most I've done in a while because there's just always so much else going on. So, and that's the thing I think is making sure you don't do too much so that it, again, all becomes work. Because as soon as it becomes work, you need to stop and just say, nope, let's go back to having fun.
Right. Now, let me just read off some of these criteria because people may be going, what do you mean they're kind of weird? So one of them is a game with at least 10,000 votes on Board Game Geek. Yeah. I've already hit that one. I did 6 Nipped. It has 15,000 votes on it. Mm-hmm. It's not a hard thing to do. One year was a game that was among the first 50 on Board Game Geek. Mm-hmm. And my first reaction was, how on earth am I going to figure that out? Well, each game has a number in the database. So you just find the first 50. Guess what one of the first 50 games in Board Game Geek was?
I know you told me and I can't remember.
Robo Rally.
Right. Robo Rally. Duh.
It was like number 32 or something like that. So, that was easy.
I know one year you had a long name and you did the...
Professor Pugnacious. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a game with 7 or more words in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Professor Pugnacious has this long, goofy name. Mm-hmm. A game with different player powers.
Variable player powers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A game published in 2019.
Okay, so you just have, that's a hotness, finding a new game.
Mm-hmm. A game featuring an extinct creature.
Well, find a dinosaur game. There's lots of them.
Mm-hmm. This is one, and I'm open to any suggestions because I haven't found it yet. A game with a zodiac sign in it.
Oh, I feel like I should know. I know they exist. I just can't think of any.
If anybody can think of one, connect with me on Twitter or tell Sarah on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or tell me in Board Game Geek Guild number 2600 because I am looking for one to do for that. A game designed for children age 5 and up. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Walker Lynn just turned 4.
Ah.
And I think she's about ready for games for 5 and up.
Awesome.
I think she can start handling it. So, a game with beverages in it. Now, I have a game called Jidohan Bakai. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's in the Tokyo series of games, and it's about Japanese vending machine culture.
I was just thinking about that.
It has little cans of soda in it. So, that's what I'm going to play.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was called. I was like, oh, there's a vending machine game. I don't know what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, neither do I, and I've got it sitting right here in front of me. A game you can't move well.
Oh.
Mark has the designer's edition of Ogre, which is like a 26-pound box.
Yeah, you don't move
I think that counts.
Yeah, I definitely think it counts.
The other one that I could put there because of what I bought for it is Firefly.
Yeah, that crate is quite big.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's I can take 15 games to a con or I can take Firefly.
Yeah.
I would probably get them all played in about the same amount of time, too.
That's true.
Let's see here. A game with round components. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be round as in a ball. It can be round as in a disc.
Yeah.
Whatever. A game where you rescue something. There's lots of games like that. Mm-hmm. A game with an exclamation point or a question mark in the title.
Oh, the Here Kitty Kitty has an exclamation mark in it.
So does Clank.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that's on my unplayed game shelf.
Well, there you go.
So, see how they overlap?
Oh, yeah. See, it all works well.
Mm-hmm. And then some of them are, who are you going to play a game with? So one of them is with your family, best friend, or significant other. Mm-hmm. And then another one is with your colleagues or solo if you don't have any colleagues or you dislike them all.
That's funny.
So, I think this is going to be good. Some of them are themes. There's one that's an Old West theme, a pirate or robbery theme, a ghost theme, or one set in space.
Nice.
All of those are easily done. So that's a 52 game challenge. The others are a little more free form, and it's all just to have fun.
Agreed.
And if you can find a way to make playing board games even more fun,
I'm all for it.
And avoid the I don't know what do you want to play. I don't know what do you want to play game. There we go. So, are you doing any board game challenges in 2019? If so, which ones? Let Sarah or I know. Like I said, you can tell Sarah in Facebook, facebook.com/OurTurnPodcast. You can tell me on Twitter, which is @OurTurnPodcast, or on Board Game Geek Guild number 2600. And you can find links to all of those things on our show notes, which you can find at OurTurnPodcast.com/episode 98. Sarah, we're at episode 98. Can you believe it?
No, not really. I can't believe we've been doing this that long.
I know it. Anyway, so we are looking forward to hearing about your challenges and any suggestions you might have for our challenges. Mm-hmm. And especially that one about the game with the zodiac sign in it. Let me know. Thanks for joining me for this discussion, Sarah.
Thanks for having me on.
The Dice Tower Network is a proud supporter of the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. The board gaming community is kind and generous, and this fund was created to provide financial assistance to members of the board gaming community in their time of need. If your game is turned upside down and you need assistance, please visit jackvassell.org/apply. Find out how we can help.
All right, so now we're at the end of the episode where we're winding things down and looking ahead. So, Sarah, what have you got on your plate in the next week or two?
Well, I first wanted to make an announcement and this is a project that's going to take a long time, but Will and I have signed a contract with Inkwell Games.
Woohoo!
I know. For our Roll and Write Scrapyard Robot. They are going to be creating a anthology book of roll and writes that just take basic dice. I don't know all the details yet, but I assume they'll have levels where you can get just the book, or maybe they'll have the book with some nice dice. I don't know, but it's going to use basic dice so that, we all have dice, and those new to the hobby can go get more dice. But yeah,
dice can be had.
Dice can be had. They're not going to have any special symbols. So it's going to be just literally a book that you open up, you can photocopy. I assume there'll be some PDFs. I don't know all the details. We started development at the end of 2018. Things have been going well. That's why we finally started signing contracts. I don't know how long it's going to take. So I don't even know if there's going to be a Kickstarter this year in 2019 or if it'll be next year in 2020. But I'm really excited. They've created a Discord channel of all of us designers. And so what I find really cool is we're playtesting each other's games. So it's like a collaborative. So it's just really cool. It's not just, I'm working with a publisher and here you go, publisher. And then they take it and do whatever they say. I have yet actually to work with a regular just publisher relationship because it's been us and Ben, which has been more of a partnership. So this is kind of a similar thing where it's a collaborative. There are two guys, Joey and Odin, who are running it, and they are Inkwell Games. But as it comes to playtesting Scrapyard as well as playtesting other people's roll and writes that will go in the book, I think that's just a really cool collaborative. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't really, I do care, but it's just a fun endeavor right now.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. Other than that, game design meeting is the second Saturday of every month. I'm really excited to get back to things because we did not meet in November or December, which I totally understand, and I am totally disappointed.
Uh-huh.
But, it's how it goes. It's the holidays. Gaming with friends, and specifically our final Charterstone game.
Woohoo! That has been a journey.
Yes.
I have thoroughly enjoyed. I have played through two full sets of games of Charterstone. Mm-hmm. We're going to have our last one here in about a week. And that's enough.
Yeah.
It's a good game. I enjoyed it.
Game.
I'm done.
Yeah. Will and I bought the game at a discount. We bought the recharge packet full price. I don't know how much that all adds up to, but Will and I played it 2-player, a full campaign, and now we're playing a full 6-player campaign with you guys and a couple of our friends. I think it has gone great. I've enjoyed it, and I am completely done with it. I'm with you. It's not that it's been a bad experience. Just kind of, it's been a bit much at some points, but I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad it's almost over, and looking forward to playing more other games with you and Mark.
Yes. I foresee many times getting together to play.
Yes, I got to teach you Dominion. I got to teach you Dominion and the right ones.
Well, my friend Richard did introduce me to Dominion, and with an expansion or two, and I did enjoy it.
Okay,
so I would very much like to play Dominion four-handed.
Awesome,
and see how that goes. And I'm sure that Mark and Dwayne would love to get me into Ascension. They are Ascension fiends.
Well, we have everything except, I think, the 2 newest expansions, so we can also throw Ascension in there because we have, like I said, everything except the 2 newest.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, Sarah, how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you online?
You can find me on Twitter at EurogamerGirl, and then I run the Facebook page for Our Turn Podcast on Facebook.
And you can reach me on Twitter as well. I am at Our Turn Podcast. And I'd also love to invite you to come by our guild on BoardGameGeek.com, guild number 2600. We have a loyal group that is there, and then people are always welcome to pop in and chat with us, answer some questions that I'm posting, just check things out, hang out, whatever. Newbies are always welcome to join us there. So, all righty. Until next time, and on behalf of the entire Our Turn podcast crew, that was our turn.
Now it's yours.
Thank you for listening. This episode was recorded on January 7th, 2018, and is written and produced by Cathy Ford and Sarah Reed with assistance from Mark Ford. Next time, I will interview game designer Stephen Aramini. We want and encourage your questions, comments, and feedback. Please call 916-426-2873 and leave us a short voicemail, or send an email to feedback@ourturnpodcast.com. Our theme music was composed by Adriana Crickle. Incidental music was provided by Purple Planet Music. Please check out our show notes to learn more about these talented artists. The material in this episode is copyrighted under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. If you want to learn more about the games discussed in this episode, please visit our website at ourturnpodcast.com/episode 98. You can find a list of the games along with links to their listing on BoardGameGeek.com. We are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. You can find out about other shows in the network like the Geek All-Stars, the D6 Generation, or the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast by going to DicetowerNetwork.com. Thank you for your support. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us.